The Senate, having tried Donald John Trump, President of the United States, upon 2 articles of impeachment exhibited against him by the House of Representatives, and 2/3 of the senators present not having found him guilty of the charges contained therein, it is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby, acquitted of the charges in said articles.
From the highways of America, here's the podcast where we talk politics, a little entertainment, some culture, and this and that from the road to your ears. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
And welcome to another episode of Trend Chat. I am your host, Brian Bledsoe, and if you want to connect with us, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. It's all the same name at Trend Chat 24/7. And we are available on Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, most of your popular podcast outlets out there. So thank you for listening. Thank you for coming in to episode 164 of Trend Chat. And so first off, just want to say we're going to have RJ Boatman to talk about his campaign for U.S. Congress. And we're going to have that coming up soon. But as you heard in the beginning, that was Chief Justice Roberts basically saying what we all should have known was going to happen when this whole impeachment whole ordeal started. Because if you don't know, in the past couple of episodes, while this impeachment been going on, we haven't even spoken about it. Because I told you when the House passed impeachment back then that it's no point of talking about it because, one, this is inevitable. It's going to go to the Senate and the Senate is going to acquit. So with that, I guess we just go on to the next segment. That's it.
Politics and other stuff, maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. I do have a little bit. Before we go into that, let me just, I just want to say that, as I said, this was inevitable. But one thing I was a little bit curious about is that, so when the vote went down as far as to call additional witnesses and additional evidence and all that, and I know many of us as conservatives and Republicans was were all on the side of, hey, let's just get this over with, and because we don't need no more witnesses or whatnot. I can't say it is. A little bit. I kind of wanted them to call more witnesses and more evidence and all that. And it wasn't because of anything, especially it wasn't because of what Romney, his reasoning. It wasn't that. My reason was strictly political, because I would have loved for this trial to go on and on and on, especially to the point where you had the candidates who were running for president, those Democrat candidates, and you had Iowa Caucus come, which is passed, which we'll touch on a little bit. It's not really much to talk about, given the fact that, they still don't have a winner as of this recording. I think they don't, at least. Maybe I didn't check a couple of hours ago, but anyway, I would have loved to have this trial going on, to keep having those senators come back to DC and having to either go to Iowa and then to New Hampshire and all that, just totally screw up their schedule. That's the only reason I would want it. this to go on any further. So, but also another thing, which if you don't know, out of the House and the Senate, you had Republicans across the board vote either to not impeach in the House or not guilty in the Senate. And out of both houses, the Democrats managed to get one Republican to go on their side, which was old Willard Romney or Pierre de facto or whatever else he want to call himself in secret or whatever. But, I tell you, I remember voting for Mitt Romney in 2012, and I must say that was like one of the most unmotivated votes I've ever went to the poll to vote for someone, because I really didn't think he was gonna do anything, but the alternative being Obama, I was like, I guess I'll vote for Romney, even though I don't really think he'll be that much better. If anything, he'll just maybe just stall some things for a couple of years or whatever. But anyway, since 2012, it has become more and more disappointing ever since. And having Mitt vote guilty on one of the charges, he only voted for one of the charges for guilty, not both, because remember there were two articles that they were voting on, and obstruction of Congress and abuse of power. And Mitt Romney voted guilty for abuse of power, and for whatever reason. And speaking about impeachment, even though it's over now, and I know this is something if you have a podcast, it's something you probably shouldn't do, but I think it's a great podcast. It's on Ted Cruz podcast, him and Michael Knowles, Verdict. That is a great podcast, especially in talking about everything that went on with impeachment. And now that it's over, but they're going to continue the podcast. And I think it's great. I would say check that out too. I'll put that way. Check it out too. Check theirs out, and also tell them to check this one out too. So it's not like you can't do both. You can subscribe to theirs and subscribe to mine too. I mean, for one, they're number one now, or number one or number two anyway. They're way up there. We could, you can subscribe here and listen to old Brian over here. But yeah, so with all this, with the impeachment and now the acquittal, and one thing I posted about, yesterday, was all these headlines back when President Trump was impeached by the House. All the headlines on newspapers were just all in bold letters, impeached across the Washington Post, Politico, and New York Times, and all that. Like, they really made a point to make sure that's in all caps to say that he was impeached. And my question was that now that he has been acquitted, I was wondering if the media was going to in turn have that in all caps and saying that he was acquitted. And to my surprise, that actually happened. So I know when I will post something like that, and then when the media actually do that, do something where I would be pessimistic and thinking that they're going to be fair both ways, at least on reporting on this. I ain't not going to go into everything else, but just this part right here, this little story, they were actually fair. They treated the acquittal just as much as they did the impeachment, at least on the the headline. I mean, I'm pretty sure the articles maybe weren't as favorable. I probably had all sorts of just dire straits for America and all of that, because the president that they so hate to give any sort of credit to. But I digress. I didn't read all the articles. I was just talking about how the headlines are going to look. So, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm glad that they did that. It's not like we're like, ooh, I was proven wrong. No, I'm glad to be proven wrong that happened. So anyway, now that it's over, and it was funny, we had the acquittal after the State of the Union, which wasn't really, well, he didn't talk about it at all during his State of the Union. But yeah, so now, like I said, I'm glad this is over. Now the test of this, of how is this going to affect President Trump and the Democrats, we'll see when it comes to November, because that's going to be the test. Now it'll be something else with all this to happen at the beginning of the year, and then President Trump get reelected. That one, I would hope that to happen, but that would really be the test, because in November with this, because one way or another, this whole impeachment ordeal is going to be linked to whatever happens in November. So now I'm starting in for the Democrats, at least, was the Iowa Caucus. So I guess we'll talk about that maybe a little bit. And also, again, like I said, we're going to have RJ Boatman on, and we'll have the interview, and we'll have all that coming up.
Politics and other stuff, maybe. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
Hello, this is Brian Bledsoe, host of Trend Chat, also contributor at politichicks.com. Here to tell you about the new book called Politichicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism, with over 300 pages from contributors like myself, talking about topics such as education, social issues, healthcare, the Second Amendment, and of course, activism. I encourage you all to check it out at politichicks.com, and is also available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Yeah, let's talk about the Iowa Caucus. All right. So, I really had to get the energy up to really talk about this, because it's not really much to talk about in the sense of all the dysfunction amongst the Democrats with all this, the vote counts and everything just screwing up. And it was, quite, man, I forgot the word all of a sudden. Schadenfreude. I forgot. I should have looked that up, because that's exactly what was Schadenfreude. I probably said that wrong. It's probably just as bad as my Spanish that I'm trying to learn as well. But yeah, so I guess one thing in particular about this that I found quite interesting is that President Trump had a higher turnout than Obama did in 2012, which is astounding to think about. Meanwhile, the Democrats had not as much enthusiasm that they had hoped. They were projecting that they will be breaking records, that they will have, the more people than ever, because, in their eyes that everyone just hates Trump, and they're extra motivated to come out for these caucuses to make a point of that. That didn't happen. So, it's early. Like I said, this is the first. This is Iowa now. Everyone is in New Hampshire now. and with all that, but it is telling, and maybe it is a trend, pun intended, that may be favorable to the president. So, but like I said, as of right now, I haven't checked, but the only thing I've seen is that Bernie is claiming victory in Iowa. But as far as any official results as of this recording, which to say, just want to mention, we are in Oklahoma City recording here, and just want to mention that we've, as always, always on the road, and but we're all looking forward to get back home to go to the Tarrant County GOP dinner, which is this weekend, February the 8th. So, but yeah, that as an aside, just want to mention that. But yeah, so the speaking of Iowa, I was there the day after the caucus, but it wasn't nothing in connection with any of that. It was just I was making a delivery somewhere in Iowa, and I was able to stop by the University of Iowa in Iowa City to watch the State of the Union. And that was one. It was a great speech. So, but one thing I noticed. So, first off, let me just say, all right. So President Trump didn't shake Nancy Pelosi's hand in the beginning, and then Nancy Pelosi ripped his speech at the end. And I'm seeing on both sides, one is condemning the other, right? Like, if we as Republicans and conservatives are like, oh, the president didn't shake Nancy's hand, and that was awesome. And then when she ripped the speech at the end, we're like, oh, that's just disgraceful. Which I'm like, I mean, so he did that in the beginning, and she did what she did at the end. And for me personally, I don't care about either one. If he doesn't want to shake her hand, fine. It doesn't really mean anything, not to me at least. And she ripping, if Nancy Pelosi's going to rip his speech at the end, okay, whatever. I mean, if that's how you feel, fine. I'll tell you one thing about Trump, especially that I like about Trump more than anything, is that, now, I mean, he doesn't do this all the time, but one thing I like is that he is really kind of breaking all this fake decorum that we have in politics, which I can't stand. So, to the effect, I guess something kind of like where someone that, except for someone, I'm a Republican and I'm talking about another Democrat that I totally disagree with everything that they stand for. And then, if I'm going to make a speech on the floor, I'm going to call so-and-so my friend or whatever like that. Well, my friend on the other side of the aisle or something I'm like, no, you're not my friend. Like, I'm against everything you stand for. Like, I think the policies that you want to enact are going to be detrimental to this nation and going to hurt many people. And so if I think that about your policies, I don't really consider you a friend, and I will kind of, I'm not going to act like we're buddies. I may call you a colleague, and which you hear really, from some, but there's some out here that kind of want to keep that like decorum up and make it seem like, oh, we're just, we're old pals or whatever like that. No. So if I have someone like Nancy Pelosi who is trying to basically stain my presidency by having this whole impeachment going on top of many other things that they're doing in the House to just basically make President Trump a living hell, his life. And yeah, I'm not going to shake your hand. Like, whatever. I'm not going to do anything else, but I'm like, but we're not going to be buddies. And so I'll wave at you. Hey, how you doing? Okay. If that, but yeah. And the other way around. Like I said, if Nancy Pelosi feel that way, my whole thing is about just be authentic. Like if you don't feel that way, just like when the State of the Union was going on. So, which happens on both sides all the time. So if the president up there is a Republican, then the other side, the Democrats, are not going to cheer us too much of anything because they don't agree on too much of anything. So that's kind of par for the course. You flip that around, when Obama was giving his State of the Union, the Republicans weren't standing up for a lot of stuff, which if I was there, I wouldn't either. So, and also even in going to the State of the Union, because some Democrats didn't even go. And they gave their reasons because they feel like, okay, well, I don't want to be there because he's going to lie, whatever. That's how they feel. Fine. Don't go. I mean, if I was a Republican, I wouldn't want to hear Obama talk for an hour. So I'm fine with that. If you don't want to go, if I ain't got to be there, and if I don't have a real reason to be there, if there was a Democrat up there, I maybe go to one. After that, I don't want to. Like, you just saying the same old stuff that I am constantly in the Congress to fight against. And so if you're just going to be up there just, spewing the same old same, regardless, whoever, whether the Democrat, Republican, if I'm a Republican, I don't care about hearing a Democrat. So yeah, I probably wouldn't show up either. So yeah, but, I don't know, but that's, like I said, this whole decorum and trying to, I guess, give a picture like, oh, everything's so, just, I don't know. I'm trying to think, I'm really trying to just think of the word, just where everything just is just so, pristine and on the up and up and whatever. And at the same time, we're sitting here making policies that affect millions of people. And yet we're supposed to be all just, just chummy. But anyway, getting off of that. So, like I said, we're going to get to our interview with RJ Boatman. And so, but yeah, well, I have one other thing I'll bring it up at the end, but yeah, anyway, I'm surprised that really fired me up in a way that, well, I'm not surprised because that whole thing about like people saying that they're friends and everything when they're not, it's just really, I guess what you say is grind my gears.
Hey everybody, it is Chad Prather, host of the Chad Prather Show. You are listening to Trend Chat with my man, Brian Bledsoe. Come on with it.
Hello to fans of Trend Chat and Brian Bledsoe. The Founding Project, an education nonprofit dedicated to civics, invites you to visit our brand new website. Visit us at thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with The Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
This is Trend Chat.
Hello, this is Trend Chat, and we are very pleased to have RJ Boatman with us. He is running for U.S. Congress in the 36th District in Texas, and we want to bring him on and ask him about his campaign and get some insight on issues that he's running on. So, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Brian. It's great to talk this morning.
So, first off, it was great meeting you at the Empower Texans Gala, and for me, as I mentioned in the previous podcast episode, where it just, it was a crazy night for me because I was receiving an award, but it was nice to meet you and able to talk with you face to face and before we did this interview.
Brian, congratulations on the award. Those are few and far between when you find such a stalwart freedom fighter as yourself. I have to admit, I'm a little jealous. I wish I had one of those swords, but maybe someday you'll let me hold yours.
Oh, well, I could have couldn't let you hold it in while I was there. But yeah, it was surreal to me though. But enough about me. This is about you. And first, I want to ask, how's the campaign going?
Campaign is going absolutely awesome, Brian. I couldn't wish for more. I mean, I'm a consummate optimist. I've always got my head held high, but I can honestly say it's been fantastic.
Oh, and so for people that may not know, where is 36th District?
36th District is on the east side of Harris County, where I was born and raised. It runs from Clear Lake, Houston, across to Pasadena, Deer Park, LaPorte, Shore Acres, Channelview, and Crosby. From Crosby, it runs up to the Trinity Livingston area and then all the way up to Lake Sam Rayburn. And then from there, we go across to the Louisiana line, and we follow that line all the way back down to a little tiny piece of Beaumont, all of Baytown, and back to Clear Lake. We have 9 counties, or 8 full counties and 1 partial, Harris being the partial. Our other counties include Liberty, Hardin, Polk, Tyler, Jasper, Newton, and Orange.
Okay. All right. So, people listening now they know, where the district is. And, I know for me personally, as a truck driver, I go to, around that area a lot, especially down to Beaumont or Batone. I don't know, is it Batone or Baytown? So I hear the different kinds of ways. Which one is it? Batone?
I was raised to call it Baytown. Sits on the
Baytown. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I come across people when I pick up down there, and I'll just say it, and then they'll say it a different way. But anyway, so what inspired you to run?
Well, I've been one of those guys all my life that believes that I need to listen to the faith that guides me. I've got a strong Christian faith. I believe every job I've ever had has been part of God's will. He's led me into career paths that maybe I didn't think I was going to be in, but they turned out to be absolutely awesome. I became very passionate about all of my jobs, did them to the best of my ability, and I do believe that this is my next calling. I believe that everything I've done in my life has prepared me for this, and I believe I'm completely and competently equipped for the next job ahead.
Okay. And, well, in that, I guess also want to ask, a little bit about yourself as far as being a businessman or as far as in the service, or whether you in city council or something anything like that. So,
I have been in public service, Brian, all of my life since I was 18 years old. My first job was for the state. Then I went to work for the city. At the state, I worked for the Department of Criminal Justice. For the city, I was the police chief on the south side of Houston. I went on to be the Organized Crime Board governor for all of Harris County, including 48 police departments, 4 federal agencies. Really big project. We did great work. From that, I was recruited to build the nation's first center for school safety just prior to the Columbine incidents. We did great work for over 13 years, building systems that would protect our children from the horrific crisis of a school shooting or other major school violence. At the same time, I worked on some statewide public integrity task force projects, and from that, I became a sitting municipal judge. And I spent almost 16 and a half years in the municipal judge business. So my background is law enforcement. It's the protection of our students in our public school systems, and it's our criminal justice systems and our court systems. And for over 35 years, I've served the public, my local cities, my county, my state, and through the U.S. Department of Education projects, the federal government.
Okay, well, that kind of goes into what I was going to talk about next is just the kind of the issues that you're running on, and just going by your website and seeing that immigration was the first one on there. So, do you consider that to be a top priority?
Absolutely. I believe in the American dream. I believe in opportunities for individuals to come to this great country from other countries and to immigrate legally. The key word in that issue is illegal immigration into this country, and that must be stopped before we can have a qualified system that allows others to come here and seek that American dream and our patriotism and to become a U.S. citizen, we first must secure our borders. It's paramount. That issue's never been about immigration. It's been about open borders. It's been about the trafficking of narcotics and weapons and human and sexual trafficking into this country. There are political ideologies that fight to have that border open for their various reasons and causes, but it's absolutely necessary that we secure the border first. Once our country is safe and secure, then we can continue to work on solutions to immigration.
And when it comes to illegal immigration, I know if when you're running on that particular issue, that can tend to be, I guess, controversial just because of because of the perceived notion of it. How would you be able to get past anyone, people that are maybe skeptical whenever something like this is brought up?
Well, I spent a lot of time. We've done about 50 stops in my district on some major tour processes, and one of the processes and the tours that we traveled through our district talking about, I think it was 11 of those city stops, we talked about finish the wall. And we made it very clear. I took an angel mom with me. Her name is Laura Wilkerson. I'd like to give her a shout out. Her son was killed in a horrific incident where his life was taken by an illegal alien who had already been processed by our law enforcement agencies and our court systems because of the lack of support for either maintaining him in custody or deporting him after his initial crimes. He was let go within 6 months back on the street. He targeted her son. It was a horrific murder. He took his life. And now he's finally been adjudicated. He's in prison where he should be. Hopefully, if he makes parole, then we'll consider deporting him. He's a very dangerous individual. But it's just very important that we get the message out that securing our border is not necessarily about the disallowance of good people seeking to promote the betterment of America by becoming a citizen, a patriot, and a hardworking contributor to our societies. It's about keeping the criminal elements out, the dangerous elements out, that not only keep our country unsafe, but that drills all the way down to our communities and the safety of our homes, our families, and our children.
And moving on to taxes and spending, the next issue you have on there, and I want to ask because Congress just passed another $1 trillion spending bill recently, and just want to ask you, what would you continue to do in D.C. to try to curb this steady stream of $1 trillion spending?
We've done that twice in a short amount of time. Since I've been in this campaign, there's been two of those major, what I call omnibus bills passed. That there's just going to have to be enough voice, enough assertiveness, enough leadership, and enough strength to stand up and say no. Out of 435 House members, there's only 34 members, as I know, in the House Freedom Caucus. And those are the voices that I've listened to, the voices that I admire. I'll name a few, Chip Roy, Louis Gohmert. Of course, I believe in Ted Cruz and his staunch fight to keep America conservative and strong and prosperous. And at the same time, I believe that more freedom fighters need to fight their way to Congress. We need to stand up and speak up. We can't depend on someone else to do it. It's time that we stop this overzealous pork barrel spending and say no. And if you follow the Texas House, my favorite is Jonathan Stickland. And sometimes he's the only no vote on the floor. And I intend to be that no vote. But if I stand there long enough, my experience tells me that 2 more will stand with me and 4 more after that and then 16. And before you know it, we'll have a consensus that says America's had enough. And it's time to give this country back to the people. The government was not created to rule or overlord the people of this country. It was created to serve this country. And it's time that we give that message back to D.C.
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm guessing you're prepared to not be a fan of leadership up there by standing up, especially when it comes to spending.
You know, there's some Republican leadership, and I'll have to admit it. I sometimes believe they must see D.C. as their playground. I'm absolutely going to see it as a battleground. It's time to fight for our people. It's time to fight for our country, and mostly it's time to fight for our future, the future that we're going to leave our children and our grandchildren. You know, Brian, I just had my first granddaughter. She is absolutely the joy of my life. And it's my absolute job to make sure she has a strong and a safe and a secure and a prosperous country to grow up in.
Okay. Well, and moving on, but also speaking of children, because I don't have many direct questions so much, but I know I have two in particular, and one revolves around the life issue, and just wondering where you stand as far as when it comes to I guess you will hear the bias in my question, but that I'm just fully going to admit it. It's just the slaughter of children, which is called abortion.
You know, there are times in life when compromise might be a reasonable word. I believe that we need to find time to compromise in our relationships, those that we love. When we talk about issues that where those that are important to us and our families have an opinion and want to help make a decision. But there's also times in life, Brian, when compromise should never be used. There are times when we need to stand up to defend what's right. And if we're defending what's right, there should be no compromise. You know, I just can't agree to an extension to 20-week abortion or, you know, third-term abortion or, you know, who knows what they'll come up with next. I've even heard commentary about post-birth abortion. But I just can't agree with any term abortion, Brian. We should have never passed legislation that allowed abortion to be the law of the land in this country, and we should stand to fight to abolish abortion. I have zero tolerance on that issue. God created that life. That life is a living, breathing, precious gift from God from the moment of conception, and I will stand and not only fight for that life, I intend to run my first bill up the hill called Sanctity of Life. Initially proposed by Steve Sock. There was a couple of times that Ron Paul took a run at that bill. We've never gotten it passed, but I believe it's time to stand strong with leadership, with strength, and with determination to make sure that we don't stop until we pass the bill to abolish abortion.
Okay. And my other issue would be the Second Amendment. And just wondering where you stand on that and just what you plan to do in D.C. to protect our Second Amendment.
You know, Brian, as a former judge, organized crime commander, and police chief, I'm going to have to step out and say that I believe I'm an expert on this issue. And not only do we need to defend the entire Constitution and all of its amendments, its Bill of Rights and its amendments, but we need to also understand that the minute we open that door, if you look at what red flag laws are saying and what the TAPS legislation is saying, it will open the door to an opportunity where local law enforcement can kick in your door to search and to seize and to confiscate your firearms. Now we've not only violated our Second Amendment, but we violated just about every amendment when we do that. And once again, its intent is not about protecting an innocent life or a school shooting, and I've got that experience too. School shootings are not about legal gun ownership. School shootings are about issues where we need to focus harder on the social, emotional wellness of our children. But to try to convince this country and our communities and the district that I actually am running for Congress in that there's a necessity for a TAPS or a red flag law to allow local law enforcement to confiscate your firearms based on insinuation, innuendo, a negative social media post is ridiculous, it's ludicrous, and it's absolutely a step towards socialism. And once that door is open, Brian, it's going to be horrifically hard to shut that door. We need to stand and fight with every breath to protect our Second Amendment, to protect our Constitution, and say absolutely no to red flag and TAPS.
Well, that answered my next question about red flag law, so I can just cut straight to my next question. And really, it's not a question. I just want to give you the time to let everyone know why they should vote for you, and if they want to know more about you and or help out with your campaign, where would they go, and all that.
So I would love to have folks that want to step up and stand up and support us. You know, this is not an ego issue for me. It's not about power. It's not about titles. I've had plenty of those. I'm just a worker. I've been a worker all my life, and I intend for not individually to be the congressman. I intend for every member of my district to join me in being the congressman of the 36th district. And so to do that, I need to know who you are. We need to meet and greet, and I need your help. And so you can reach out to us many ways. Our office is located in the Houston Clear Lake space at 1322 Space Park Drive. You can call us at 281-767-2639. You can email us at info@boatmanforcongress.org, and you can go to our webpage at boatmanforcongress.org. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your support. We're absolutely listening. If you can help by volunteering, block walking, phone banking, or if you can make a donation, it would be extremely important to us. You know, sad but true, if I could win on love, I'd already be all the way to Capitol Hill. But it absolutely takes money to do this, so we do need your help. And once again, that's Boatman, FOR, Congress.org.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and all the best in the campaign.
Brian, you're awesome, and I can't thank you enough for the opportunity to chat this morning. I hope to see you soon, and lunch or coffee on me if you bring that sword, because I'd love to see it again.
All right.
This is Sarah Gonzalez, and you are listening to Trend Chat.
And thanks to RJ for joining us. And yeah, so check out the website and right now this month it's going to be all candidate interviews. It's going to be the whole series. Right now, as I mentioned a number of times before already, that we want to make sure we get all these interviews out before the Texas primary, which is pretty much Super Tuesday. So it's not just Texas, but as of right now, all the candidates that we have are in the state of Texas. So we definitely want to make sure we have everything out before the primary on March 3rd. So again, thanks to RJ for joining us. And we'll have, well, actually, I don't even know. I mean, who would be on next week? We may have actually trying to think, 2 episodes. Maybe. I think. I'm sitting there trying to do this behind the scenes on the air. Anyway, just want to mention a little bit before we go. And also, before I even get to that, just want to say, especially on this particular episode, given that it's so Trump centric, because we're talking about President Trump's acquittal and talking about State of the Union and all of that. And also, not only that, just the Iowa Caucus, because the Democrats are running to take his spot. So, it's been a lot about Trump. So this particular podcast partner we definitely should include in this episode is TrumpMug.com. So, if you want to celebrate President Trump's acquittal, you can go to TrumpMug.com. They got all sorts of mugs, of course. It's TrumpMug.com, but they have mugs, coins, flags, all sorts of Trump-centric gear and that you would want. Signs, Trump 2020, all of that. You just go to TrumpMug.com. Need to slow down and just say it right. TrumpMug.com. And if you put in the code TRENDCHAT, you get 10% off on anything on there. So again, if you want to celebrate President Trump's acquittal this week, go to TrumpMug.com and get yourself some some signs put out there. But speaking of Trump again, in a way, because this halftime show that happened in the Super Bowl, which also happened, I mean, a lot happened in the past couple of days. Super Bowl, State of the Union, Iowa Caucus, the acquittal, all this happened in the matter of what, I'm trying to count about 5 days. So, but yeah, so for one, Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, which I watched on my phone. I'm trying to think where I was. Yeah, I was in Cincinnati and I didn't feel like going to the bar across the street. So I just watched it on my phone. But it was a good game. And not only did the game get a lot of attention, but the halftime show. And like I said, in talking about Trump a little bit in this, because it seemed like in some of the performances that they were making a political statement, especially J-Lo with the kids in cages and all that, that sort of look or whatever. But, it gets people in reading into that. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, she's a pretty, big liberal in a way, so it wouldn't shock me at all. But the one thing that I want to mention is that, when Shakira and J-Lo were announced to be the halftime show for the Super Bowl, a quick little Google search. I really need to, I'll be honest with you. I'm really having a couple minutes before I got to go watch a movie. And so I need to just go and slow it down so I can get it out. So I won't be repeating myself. But, I'm just being real with you. I'm about to watch a movie, here in Oklahoma City. But anyway, if you did a quick Google search on Shakira and J-Lo when they were announced, you would have known right then and there that they're not going to come out in potato sacks for this halftime show. So I don't know what everyone was surprised about. Actually, I was thinking J-Lo was going to come out in that green dress she wore, what was almost 15, 20 years ago. I wouldn't be surprised she was coming out in that, showing everything. I mean, she's like 50 years old and she's proud of her body and she want to show it to everybody. And so as Shakira, which she's like 43. But anyway, for one, I know a lot of people was pointing out that J-Lo was doing on the pole, which when you think about it, I mean, you had these pro-life groups wanting to advertise during the Super Bowl, and you had these other groups wanting to promote the Second Amendment. I mean, so okay, here we got a group wanting to talk about protecting the unborn and all that, and babies and that's all nice. And you have another group want to talk about protecting your family and through the Second Amendment and and being self-reliant and in self-defense. No, all that, that's a little controversial. We don't want to have all that on the Super Bowl. I mean, but J-Lo on the pole, well, nothing wrong with that, because yeah, we had that during the halftime show. But that being said, again, if you did a little bit of a Googling, you would have not been surprised with that, because she was in a movie called Hustlers last year, did pretty well in the box office, especially it was critically acclaimed. I mean, everybody loved Jennifer Lopez in Hustlers, so much so that she was in consideration to be nominated for an Oscar. I mean, they love that stripper movie so much. But yeah, so I wasn't surprised at all to see her on the pole, because she was like, hey, I just did this movie about strippers that most people tend to love, especially in Hollywood. So yeah, that wasn't surprising either. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out before, we're at the end now. Just wanted to get that out there. Again, as I said, I'm on my way trying to catch a movie something. But anyway, I appreciate everyone listening. We are here on trendchat247.com, also available on most popular podcast outlets, your Google Plays, your Spotify's or whatever. Like, share, subscribe, 5-star ratings, recommend us on the Facebook page and all that, everything. It's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, at TrendChat 24/7. Until next time, we'll chat with you later.